G'day, this is Captainoob, the Michael Bay of Fallout 76 YouTube content creation. We've got it all. We've got babes, guns, action, excitement, and explosions, you name it. Anyways, this is a two-shot radium rifle with plus 50% limb damage and 90% reduced weight, major and minor legendary effects respectively. It's an interesting weapon, and as a community we've sort of figured out that there's something not quite right with the limb damage on this thing, especially on super high rate of fire weapons like the LMG, the Gatling laser, or the minigun. Those things can use the limb damage to absolutely break whatever damage there is. On a slower rate of fire, you can still get that, but there's a caveat to that. It kind of needs to use the two-shot legendary effect to actually do anything, because basically you're shooting two bullets at once, you're hitting twice, and it causes the game to act a little bit strangely. And just to show you how strangely this thing does act, we'll just be observing the damage numbers as we shoot something with this to get a little bit of a baseline to what damage the thing should actually be doing, or what we could expect from this weapon. And we'll be shooting something with this to figure out that something isn't quite right. It's just a little bit of a weird weapon here. So I've got this with the powerful auto receiver, aligned long barrel, stabilized stock. I tend to like that combination on the radium rifle because it makes the recoil pattern a little more vertical. If you've got a stabilized barrel, it'll just be a little bit more horizontal, which is a lot harder to predict and control. So that's what I've got that for. Reflex sight for that's an AP usage. You've got a suppressor for sneakiness and a perforating magazine to get a little bit of armor penetration out of this. And if you're not sure how two-shot works, it takes the base damage, divides it up between the two bullets as you fire, and you end up doing a lot less damage than what you'd think. It's not exactly double damage. It used to be, but then Bethesda said, nah, overpowered, nerfed it, and now it's not even that great, because despite all of the inaccuracy it gives you, the less damage makes this thing not as good because of the way damage resistance is calculated to. But enough about that, let's go ahead and upgrade this thing with some perks. Now, to make this weapon more effective, I've got a little bit of a dumb game plan for this. Basically, what I'm going to do is chuck on all of my bloodied sort of centric build perks, and then I'm going to go into Nerd Rage Threshold. Now, the reason being is because this thing doesn't have the greatest accuracy, but if I'm in VATS, it'll make the two shots hit a little bit more easy, and if I want to hold down the trigger, the recoil is a little bit too much to manage. But with all of my unyielding gear boosting my perception to an extent where I can make this thing fire a lot more accurately in VATS, I feel like that would be pretty advantageous to me, even though we're not getting any major damage bonuses out of the Blade legendary effect. So we're doing 92 right now, and sometimes I like to talk shit about the radium rifle, saying it's kind of weak, but it is out damaging the salty here, which is odd, but whatever. Okay, Nerd Rage Threshold has been achieved, and yeah, just 34 perception is good, because, just to demonstrate this thing's inaccuracy, if I'm hip firing this, that's what it'll do. If I'm aiming down sights, yeah, it's, the two-shot adds a little bit of kick, and the weapon itself already has enough recoil already before you even add two-shot into it, so I'm thinking VATS is my best bet here. Alright, so here we are outside of the Springfield nuclear power plant, and the damage from the weapon, if you're not sure. 158, which, doesn't seem like a lot, but here we are. We've all got unyielding stuff. It's all AP regen. Some of it has harder to detect while sneaking, which is nice, but what I'm going to do first is just going to shoot the super mutant in the torso, and let's observe the damage. So just hop up to a place where I can see him. He's standing still. So I'm seeing 589 and 270, which is odd because if I shoot him with the salty, the damage numbers are exactly the same. So I'm thinking that the limb damage here is actually boosting my damage higher than what it should be. And you'll see that that should actually be enough to kill the super mutant, but it doesn't. And I think the game knows that, because if you watch the health bars closely, if I get the two hits in, the health bar will fall down. But for some reason, maybe the miniguns and such fire so fast that the game kind of forgets to, or doesn't have time to, as you're firing more shots into it, which might be why that damage thing occurs. Obviously, this thing is only firing the 75 rounds, but yeah, 75 in the fire rate, not rounds a minute. But now I am one-shotting stuff, which is, to be expected. If I'm hitting for 802, I'll definitely be one-shotting the super mutants, but maybe that might be a new piece of the puzzle for people who are actually trying to figure out how it works, or maybe I'm not saying anything particularly new. What you probably might have already noticed, though, is that the damage on this thing is exceedingly high. We're only hitting, what? We've got 216 times that by 4, that's only about 800, and we're getting another 500 on top of that. Does it make it a god weapon? Perhaps if we actually get the damage out of it, we'll see, but I'm not sure if we will. Now, if we go into VATS and shoot them like that, we are one-shotting these guys now. You can tell that the damage numbers aren't quite the same. I should have definitely one-shotted that guy with 800 and 400, but for whatever reason, yeah, I'm not getting the damage rewarded to me, and it might just be because, you know, I'm only firing the one bullet, and the game has checked to say, hang on, something's not right here, but that's just my theory on it. Let's just go inside and shoot some more. Another interesting discussion to have is whether the assault rifle is actually better than the radium rifle despite having a little bit less damage at your disposal. And there's a couple of reasons to, you know, you might think that the radium rifle is better, but I mean, the damage output is something, but good luck getting parts for it. You know, it took me a very, very long time to, you know, nail down all of these radium rifles to actually get the necessary parts I need to make this thing good. Whereas you could knock that out in like, I don't know, 1 or 2 hours tops if you know where the super mutants spawn, at least for assault rifles. The accessibility on the assault rifles is second to none. They're so easy to get, and I guess that's just why they're just kind of sitting at the bottom despite, you know, firing the 5.56s, but if you put them in a handmade, it somehow fires faster. I'm thinking the barrel lengths would be of similar length, so it's not like the velocity would be super different, right? That guy backed off. So none of these guys are going to be challenging enough for my radium rifle right now to actually fire at it full auto, at least if I'm not sneaking. I could probably stop sneaking. I think you get the point of this while sneaking. But I wonder if this thing doesn't fire quick enough to... that worked. Not really sure. It's just a bit weird. It's hard to get any readings or figure out if the bug's actually working or not, because I'm one-shotting, two-shotting these guys. I had two-shot, get it? Regardless of that, yeah, it's only taking a few bullets to kill. Maybe if we get onto some enemies with a higher health pool, Swan, Scorched Beast, and the like, we might see. Oh, I was only hitting for 67 that time. See the massive drop of damage you get out of this thing. Wow, Escape Artist is being super consistent today. Super overpoweredly consistent. Ooh. Now it won't. I'm detected now because some guy around the corner saw me. I spoke too soon. There we go. So, yeah, if I want to go full auto, you can tell why I wanted to have a higher perception build, which I'd usually use chameleon armor because, you know, being at full health is kind of cool, I guess. It means you don't fucking die all the time, but yeah, I'm in a position where I kind of want to have my perception boosted enough so if I, you know, can't exactly 1, 2, 3 shot the super mutants, I can rely on the perception and VATS for the accuracy, which I probably don't need to in here, but we'll see how we go against the tools. We'll be fighting them next because I think you get the idea. Another possibility, of course, for why the game might be throwing these weird numbers at me whilst I'm shooting is because this thing deals a little bit of rad damage, but to my knowledge that actually doesn't show up. When I did my little 4-minute video about how armor penetration works and how, well, the numbers that spat out are false, which, you know, could be another reason, but yeah, when I was shooting stuff with a radium rifle for testing there, they had no discernible effects. Like, there's not like an extra number that pops up for the radiation damage. Most of the stuff in the game that you fight has the radiation resistance anyway, so there's that. Good thing I've got a suppressor. Look at that hipfire accuracy, that's terrible. Even if I'm standing still. Might be worth chucking on ground pounder, actually, because, for one, I don't want to aim for the head because that just gives me heaps less accuracy. It might take 2, 3 shots to actually zero in with concentrated fire. So, you know, targeting the torso feels like a good idea, and having extra reload speed to, you know, to offset the mag size limit, I suppose, would be nice, and having that extra hip fire too would be useful. If I just stop moving, though, I feel like that helps me a little bit. So yeah, it might be a situation where the numbers that it's throwing out to me aren't accurate, but yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit weird. Maybe if someone were to test this with something more easier, something without that extra radiation damage to get into like a combat rifle or a fixer, that might be worth it. Alright, gonna take Swan, this time without using stealth. Can't see anything too noticeably different about the damage output. Still, the numbers are throwing out a little bit different when, I'll reiterate, if I go back to the assault rifle, they're exactly the same. So, you know, something's a little bit off, but it wasn't that time. Maybe only one of the bullets hit on both of those occasions, but maybe it was just broken for a bit and now I've fixed it by switching weapons, but that wouldn't explain why it didn't happen before. This is just a weird thing. Alright, let's see how far we can use range with this thing in VATS. Okay, far. Pretty goddamn far. Get it? Because this thing came from Far Harbor. Made a joke. Huh. I just watched the health bar closely because I knew the Milet King would be tough, and I'm thinking that last shot did a little bit more damage. I'm not sure if that was concentrated fire picking up the slack or whether limb damage was the culprit. I accidentally killed a thing whilst the grenade went off. Not really sure, to be honest. I'm gonna have to find something a little bit bigger than a queen to try to figure out whether this thing is weird or not, but I'm thinking it's weird, there's just something not quite right with it. Oh, looks like we've pulled some snallies on this occasion, which are easily going to be two-shotted, so yep, should be cruisy enough as long as they don't huck the loogies up to kill me, because you bet your ass I'm going to be sitting up here and knocking them down from here. XCOM 2 says I've got a height advantage on these guys, which confers an additional, what, 20% chance to hit, so I better not miss. That'd be embarrassing, right? We're at the stage of one-shotting them now with a little bit of adrenaline, so yeah, this fight's pretty much over. I'll just clean up the rest of them, and then I can go and fight the bats and then get killed. Looking forward to the bat fight, because we might actually see some... Oh, okay, we're actually done. There's only a couple of them on this occasion. Okay, here we are down at Fissure Site Prime again, and that's where I am. Map reference right here. Someone asked me where I went for the Scorch Beasts fight the other day, and it's, would you believe it's in the mother of all holes places, where there's a big hole in the ground and they crawl out of it, despite, if you want to jump in it kills you instantly. But they just crawl out of it because, you know, bullets will stop them, but not the liquid death that they crawl out of. Anyways, we'll just, shoot at the Scorch Beast. And nothing particularly weird so far. Okay. The game caught up the damage just then and nuked that guy's health down from about, I don't know, 45%-ish. And now we can cheese all of these guys because that's accuracy and concentrated fire. So good. So good. You can really push the damage on, or the range out on unyielding... I mean, two-shot stuff with unyielding armor. That's pretty good. Trouble is that you get better damage output and accuracy out of a blade anyway, so there's no real reason to do that. But, you know, if you've got a two-shot and it's your best legendary, and at some point, it's probably been everybody's best legendary, you can get a little bit more range out of it, a little bit more versatility out of it, using the old armor of the unyielding variety. And I'm not going to get the dude crawling out of there, but... honestly, I think you get the idea of this thing. I didn't see any blatant examples of the massive health miscalculation that you'd get out of a higher rate of fire weapon, but there was a couple of moments here and there where I felt like, well, I did a little bit more damage than I probably should have, or there was that bit against the super mutants at the start where I actually noticed the health bar jump down then jump back up as the game probably realized that, hang on, something's going off here, but... anyways, let me know if you saw anything. I was busy focusing on commentary and aiming and everything, so my mental RAM probably isn't capable of, you know, collecting every single piece of information that it can, but be sure to let me know. And if you'd like to see this weapon in your game, let me know, because I can probably let this one go. Thank you for watching, guys.